Are you so bored that you'd rather watch YouTube than do anything productive? Are you looking for mind-numbing brain rot to fill that void? I'm sure you're not. But hey, guess what I spent the last 2 weeks making instead of studying for my exams? That's right, mind-numbing brain rot. Yeah, what is my life at this point? Anyways, idle games. We all hate them. They look like those cheesy mobile game ads that nobody likes, and for whatever reason, you can never manage to click the small X button without wrong warping to the App Store. Where do I fit into this equation? Well, I am hopelessly addicted to idle games. I have put thousands of hours into them. In fact, by my very brief mathematical calculation, it's around 7,000 hours at this point. Yeah, it's a problem. Think about that for a second. 2,400 hours is 100 days. Multiply that by 3, and you have about 7,000. That's an issue. Anyways, that's why I am more than qualified to talk about idle games. And trust me, we've got a lot of idle games. 27 in fact. Now, should you want to spiral down the addiction that is mindlessly wasting your time, well, you've come to the right place. With that, let's get right into it. Also, a brief spoiler warning if you're the type that enjoys a bit of lore, or the alpha wolf that forges his own path and wants to experience the game for himself. You have been warned. Cookie Clicker, the idle game of all idle games. This one is probably the most popular game on the list and has also been around for the longest. With a quick Google, Cookie Clicker has been around since August 8th, 2013, and was added to Steam on the 1st of September 2021. With nearly 60,000 reviews, it's almost a quarter of the number of negative reviews that Helldivers 2 had, if anyone remembers that. Anyways, the gameplay is very simple. Click the cookie. There is no way you can possibly mess this up. You simply click the cookie in the center of your screen, do that enough, and a few upgrades start to appear. Then begins automation, resetting the game for marginal increases to your cookie production, and with enough time, congratulations, you've got an idle game. Where this becomes interesting is the lore, art, and minigames. Most idle games are inherently simplistic by nature, but this one stands out as the world slowly diverges towards complete and utter chaos. The currency becomes cookies, portals and wormholes open in the universe, and all comes back to cookies. Now, this is all great, and if you're a simple numbers guy like myself, although I prefer Proverbs or Psalms most days, you're just here to watch a number go up. You can buy and sell stocks like Big Brother Jeff Bezos, pray at the temple like Jesus, or farm like Gandhi did. I don't really know, history wasn't my best subject. Anyways, it's a cool game and I would recommend checking it out if you've got $5 to spare. There's a Steam link in the description and there will be for each one of the games mentioned, assuming we don't inevitably hit the character limit. The cool thing about Cookie Clicker is there is also a free version online as well, so you can check that out too. This game is your solid S tier idle game, because the game is just your classic go-to idle game and you know exactly what you're getting for $5. Anyways, onwards to the next game. Clicker Heroes. This game screams childhood to me because I first played this game in 2016, back when I was a small nerdy otter who relentlessly bothered people to play Terraria with me at school, but alas, I didn't have friends. That's why, instead, I simply employ everyone around me to work on YouTube projects with me. Almost like an idle game. Okay, so Clicker Heroes, right? This game is my most played game on Steam with an absurd 2,409 hours. I genuinely had nothing better to do with my time back in middle school, so my life consisted of resetting this game for marginal boosts every couple days, and leaving the game open indefinitely to stack a ridiculous amount of Juggernaut. Much like Cookie Clicker, this game is very simplistic, so much that I would say it's basically Cookie Clicker. If the art was slightly different, and the minigames were non-existent, and the holiday events were somehow even more lame. Don't get me wrong, Cookie Clicker has a few more years on this game, given that Clicker Heroes was released on Steam on May 13th of 2015, but it took them until the very end of 2023 to release an update that the game desperately needed. So long to the days of Adobe Flash graphics, and say hello to basically the same graphics. Oh, yeah. Wow. What's even funnier about this game is the audio. Much like Taylor Swift music, it sounds the best when it's muted. TQ, if you're so critical of Clicker Heroes, why would you put 2,409 hours into the game? Well, I'm surprised you remember the number of hours that I sank into the game, but to answer your question, this was before the idle game addiction. You see, in the TQ timeline, the TQ verse if you will, this was just a foreshadowing of the brain rot that was to come. I didn't play 8 idle games simultaneously back in middle school. Now I do, and that's an issue. In fact, back in middle school, I didn't even know what an auto clicker was, except that it was built into Clicker Heroes. Anyways, this was back when I left idle games open, instead of closing and switching between them rapidly. Those hours are accumulated over several tedious years of clicking. I'm surprised that I don't have carpal tunnel yet either as a function of that or V2. The reason that I'm critical of the game is Clicker Heroes 2. While I haven't played the game myself, the reviews say more than enough about the game. Development ceased on the first Clicker Heroes and instead went to a revamped version with more than a revamped price. Speaking of money, this is a great time to plug my Patreon. If you enjoy this kind of content, check out the Patreon. This is also a great time to mention that otters are in the same animal family as weasels. Clicker Heroes is a B tier game, as it's just mid. There's nothing else I can really say, it's mid. And for Clicker Heroes 2, well, I'm going to cave to peer pressure without even doing any research or due diligence and just say it's F tier, as in tastes like cat food. Adventure Capitalist, a great game to segue into after that very nonchalant Patreon plug. almost like how you can get 100 gold by clicking all the socials immediately after loading into the game. In an adventure capitalist, you click buttons and make money. There are no minigames, but there are events that cycle through every few days. Anyways, I'll keep this explanation of the game as simple as the game is. There's not much to do but sit and wait and check your profits every now and then. It's perfect for your casual idle game player. That said, if you're like me and you're a different breed of furry and somehow have an intelligence deficiency greater than mine, this game isn't hard to speedrun. I beat the game 3 times for all 3 main worlds purely out of boredom. Once on my computer, once on my phone, and once on my iPod. I feel old, but I'm not even 20 yet. Hey, post-editing TQ here, that is an absolute lie. You didn't finish this video before your birthday happened. Good job. For reference, I'm going into my junior year in college, and I'd rather sit in front of a microphone and rant about how to efficiently waste your time than anything else. I'd put AdCap in A tier, as it's another classic idle game, although I'd argue it's more of a classic if you're a 2010s iPod kid. It's better, or at least more casual than Clicker Heroes, and overall is just more fun than Clicker Heroes, especially for how grindy that game can be. And hey, if you want to argue with that, start a war in the comment section. It boosts the metrics, please. Soda Dungeon. I can't drink carbonated drinks due to my taste being as fragile as Apple technology. Hey editor, plug that one scene from the airport video because that was fun to make. Or the art from it because apparently not being able to drink carbonated drinks has become a meme. Anyways, do you like killer basslines? How about an all-around amazing game OST for something as simplistic as turn-based combat? What about, I don't know, bar fights? Well, I don't like the latter, but these goobers do. Hire a couple, or ask them to fight for you without paying them, because they're too drunk to realize what eldritch abominations they're about to encounter. Scale increasingly difficult floors with an increasingly optimized party of women, and the game is pretty quick. The only issue I have ever had with this game was a party that theoretically couldn't die, which I left up overnight, and it crashed. Yep, a sad ending to a mediocre story. But hey, you know what isn't mediocre? Soda Dungeon 2. Yep, a sequel done right. Suck it, Clicker Heroes. This game is an improvement of everything that Soda Dungeon couldn't do, namely more mechanics, an alternate realm to explore, and inevitably more microtransactions. Greedy game devs. Hey, check out my Patreon. Anyways, Soda Dungeon is a solid S-tier idle game because it's not too complicated, not too grindy, and overall I would recommend it because it's free. Soda Dungeon 2, while yes it's exciting and yes I can force myself to be energetic while talking about it, I'd put it in A tier, purely because you have to pay a couple dollars for it. If you have something slightly worse but it's free compared to something you have to pay for, you might as well go for that, right? Zombidle, one of the best games on this list as far as humor goes. The jokes are funny, and overall game design is pretty good. You can make as much or as little progress as you'd like with as much or as little effort as you'd like. And then there's Carl. He is so annoying. Anyways, rampage through towns and cities, and eventually entire regions as you relentlessly slaughter humanity, and fight bosses. Again, there's not much to say here as far as gimmicks go. You can see the gameplay on screen, and it's pretty much what you would expect. Of course, there's a neat crafting system where you can pile up an infinite amount of garbage. And the game even has a building mechanic reminiscent of Clash of Clans. Hey, does anyone remember when Supercell scammed the entire player base of Clash Royale? Happened multiple times as well, so it was really hard to miss. I would give Zombidle a solid D tier, as it's basically just Clicker Heroes, but better. It does get a bit repetitive, and there's no more work being put into the game, so it's likely worth a play as it's free, but not something you'd play for months. Especially if your attention span has been destroyed by the Gen Z skibbity rizzlers. Yeah, feel free to drop a dislike after that joke. Idle Wizard. I am incredibly biased towards this game as I've been addicted to it for months, but I'm going to try to make this as objective as possible. The game starts very simple, as there's an orb in the center of your screen, and you click it. Almost feels like we've come full circle to the start of the video. As you click the orb more, you get mana sources and upgrades. Then comes the decision. To serve the light or darkness, chaos or law, void or vindication, alchemy or abolition. Each class has its own playstyle with varying degrees of success as you progress through the game. Functionally, this forces you to try new classes and learn new mechanics within the game. With 100 unique challenges, an infinite number of realms to investigate, and a finite number of quasi-realms, a unique attribute system, tons of lore, art that's very impressive for a free game, there is always more to do. You can play this game as actively or as passively as you'd like, depending on your playstyle, with an appropriate class and build. There's rarely a limit to progression, and it's basically just a numbers sandbox with a goal, and you can go as far and as long as you'd like. I had a memory run that lasted 492 days for reference because I stopped playing the game for a while, but had a lot to come back to, and have been playing it for the past month. The game is free, still actively being worked on, has a community that knows how to write a whole college thesis on the wiki to slightly optimize a wizard class, and it's just worth a play. I'd give this a solid A tier. Actually make that a plasma A tier because that's the third time I've said that in a row now. Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. Do you like Dungeons & Dragons? I sure do. I'm hosting a D&D campaign currently, or more or less got forced into DMing it, but hey, it's fun regardless. Okay, so Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms is basically like Dungeons & Dragons. but without the Dungeons and Dragons. And add in hundreds, if not thousands of dollars of microtransactions, aka what literally every real Dungeons and Dragons player is willing to pay towards the game in the form of either metal dice, books, costumes, or other aesthetics. And congratulations, you have this game. An idle onslaught of infinitely scaling enemies clashes with heroes who scale equally as you find armor, weapons, and all sorts of power-ups. This game has a somewhat unique reset currency, as when you reset, depending on the realm that you're in, you can get all sorts of various upgrades. This, in combination with a few patrons, a story that I'm sure is multiple hundreds of pages long, and well, you have this game. Now, there's a reason that I've put well over 1,000 hours into this game, and while it's no masterpiece, the community has stayed alive to some extent. Most days there is someone Twitch streaming the game, answering questions, and talking about Dungeons and Dragons in general. I don't visit these streams myself, but I do go to various websites to claim the codes that are given away in these streams for free in-game loot. Gotta love how much I respect the community. Anyways, besides my complete lack of compassion for anything in this world other than apparently Steam achievements, this game has an event running 90% of the time, and overall, I'm just happy with the regular stream of new content. And I've never seen a reason to stop playing. Especially because it's literally impossible to get all the Steam achievements, given how often they add new ones. The one major issue that I take with this game is the loading times that take forever for a game that seems relatively simple. It's likely an optimization issue, but this has been a thing for years, and they still haven't fixed it. Game rating time, it's a solid B in my book. Antimatter Dimensions. This game was literally recommended to me in the comment section, and now I have a third of the achievements. What is wrong with me? Don't answer that, actually. Okay, so for gameplay, it's a very basic button-clicking game. I love the stylistic randomness at the top of the screen with the commentary, and the achievement designs I find equally funny. Overall, this game doesn't have much to offer, albeit other than it's my latest and greatest obsession, and waste of time. This game, in my opinion, belongs in C tier. Leaf Blower Revolution. Have you ever seen pixelated leaves this stunning? I'm sure you haven't, unless you've watched Minecraft. Also, please cut that off. Do you like vibrating your mouse around the screen? Well, guess what? We're all probably ADHD 8-year-olds watching this video. I can assure you I am one as well. I don't know about the editor, you'll have to ask him. Point being, this game has a lot of mouse movement, opening menus, buying one upgrade, rinsing, and repeating. Well, I think it's cool and there's plenty of content for the ultra late game nerds who made it that far. I cannot recommend putting in 100 to 200 hours to get there. What those hundreds of hours would functionally earn you is a crafting system, a trading system, a pet system, and you probably guessed every system you could probably think of. That said, should you manage to do so, that easily sets this game from being a solid C tier to probably a B tier. Maybe B+. I mean, C's get degrees, and that's all I needed to pass calculus. Grim Clicker, a game about optimization, speed, and efficiency, also having your character off screen 90% of the time. That and some Latin mixed with demonic rituals, and you've got yourself a game. Now what I love about this game is that A, you can modify your save file and cheat stuff in, and B, it puts a unique twist on what clicking inherently does in an idle game. In most games, while yes, you upgrade your stuff, or you're doing damage to an enemy, clicking in this game simply changes the rate at which you attack or move. It doesn't inherently affect your damage until you start stacking upgrades. And tandem with an energy system actually makes for some really interesting gameplay, as essentially it forces you to figure out how often you should click to run through the game as fast as possible. With yet another layered soft reset system to progress, and more weapons and armor to make your character feel more powerful, this is very similar to other games, but has a nice feel with the art in the game. That said, it does slow down significantly after playing the game a bit, and requires being left open to progress at an optimal rate. A tier. BitBurner, are you the smartest guy in your friend group? Well, I've got fantastic news for you. Go learn how to code in JavaScript, like right now. Okay, have you done that? Well, this game, by definition, is a programming game. That's also idle. Trust me, when I say these games are idle games, because I had to take games like Fallout Shelter off this guide when I realized that just because you play the game once every few hours doesn't in fact make it idle. If anything, it just reasserts the likelihood that I have some form of attention deficit hyperactive disorder. Alright. In tandem with some unique lore, factions that resemble that of Fallout, and a text interface, this is your perfect pseudo-RPG, text-based, nerd idle game. B tier if you're able to understand it, and maybe a D tier if you have no idea how to program. Also, you can cheat in every achievement in the game with a script, so that's fun too. Bounty below, are you obsessed with dwarfs as much as a DRG player? Well, this game has 0 dwarfs, but a whole lot of mining. So much in fact that this game is entirely based around mining. And no, I'm not talking about data mining like another certain game that we spent about a week making a guide on that performed about as well as you'd expect. What I am talking about is smashing rocks. And sometimes yellow rocks. Green rocks too. Maybe a red rock as well. Why not? In fact, let's just use every primary color to identify rocks. Sounds easy enough, right? Now you get to upgrade the rocks. And smash the rocks faster. Sounds easy enough, right? Now you get to upgrade the rocks. And smash rocks faster. And summon black holes and warp time to just more rocks. Okay, that got intense quickly. This game is fun, and by fun, I mean much like every other game on this list. Wow, it's also got a dungeon crawler built into it. That's cool. It's also got foraging, like another previously mentioned dwarf game. Another C tier. Seems like I overused that. But if that's a statistical norm, it seems likely that most games would fit in that category. So to Singularity. Atheists, you'll love this one. Evolution, the absolute peak of human science. A potato has 48 chromosomes in it. A human has on average 46 chromosomes. You, the guy, girl, furry, Apache helicopter, whatever, sitting behind your Dell Inspiron 15 laptop are likely 2 chromosomes away from being a potato. What does this have to do with the game? Absolutely nothing. So to Singularity is yet another incremental game. But this one is powered by science. You remember Cookie Clicker tearing the fabric of reality to shreds? Well, this is the opposite. Repair the fabric of reality as some female AI endlessly bothers you to keep exploring an ever-expanding simulation. Go far beyond the Earth as well when you eventually get bored buying hundreds of jellyfish and flatworms, because who cares about those? As said, we've got singularities, androids, and Martian cities. Yeah, this game slowly becomes less real and more science fiction, but who cares? Look at this cool dinosaur. Oh wow, there's another dinosaur. Do you like astronomy? I'm a Gemini, but these planets are neat. We've also got gas giants and stars. Pretty neat, right? The only thing that would make it better is if it didn't suddenly freeze in an animation. Anyways, banished to A tier because the artwork is cool, the gameplay is simplistic yet addictive, and pterodactyl was spelled with a P. Farmer against Potatoes Idle. Imagine a war scene, an endless battle, a clash of the ages, a legendary skirmish of which tales would be told for generations. Or just one bloodthirsty farmer and an endless horde of vegetables. Welcome to Farmer Against Potatoes Idle. I have never seen a game with a skill tree as massive as this, unless we're paying Path of Exile. Video coming possibly never. The minigames in this game rival that of Cookie Clicker, and with consistent updates, a reasonable gameplay progression, and new content that's frequently added to the earlier mid-game, there is always more to do. Whether it's growing worms, enslaving cows, or even a gacha-style card minigame, there is always more to do. I love this game, as not only does the developer listen to the community actively, but also frequently changes the game to incorporate multiplayer events, and plenty of other unique ideas. Easily an A-tier game, as it always feels fresh. However, progression does slow down a bit as you get closer to the end of the game, as it gets closer to a standstill. Firestone Online Idle RPG. Alright, this game has been a meme from the other videos that we've made, and even the community, as it seems like I pull up this game during almost every other game. While the gameplay is almost as stale as Clicker Heroes, this is compensated for with so much to do in the game that there is always a reason to be playing it. This game is what very few other idle games do, where you can have hundreds of timers being run constantly. Whether it's maps to be explored, an alchemist to grab upgrades from, guild expeditions, the main gameplay itself, or any of the other mechanics, this game has so much, and while it's not necessarily innovative, it does in fact have Steam achievements, and that's why I play it. C-tier game. Idle Research. Admittedly, I remember very little about this game because as soon as I learned that you could import a save, I used that to grab every achievement in the game, and then forgot about it. I should probably do due diligence for this game to accurately explain it and give an expert opinion, but what I can say is it at least has a tutorial, which most games would definitely benefit from. You use flasks to make other flasks, and oh my, it's literally just Adventure Comedy. Oh hey, speaking of, did you wonder why that game didn't end up on this list? Well, I didn't remember that game until now, and I swear it wasn't on Steam until then. Also, it didn't have Steam achievements, which I'm definitely not playing idle games solely for. Anyways, please enjoy some side-by-side gameplay of both games, of which neither I obtained the gameplay of. With that said, Idle Research is an F-tier game. Not much going on, and it's something I could build in C# in probably a day. Idle Slayer. Alright, so I saw this game on YouTube originally, I think a couple years ago, by Dangerously Funny.
Today we're playing kindergarten, and I'm going to show you how to eliminate all the other small children, which is every teacher's dream.
Let me check real quick. And, oh yeah, that's right. Okay, so I saw this game a couple years ago, and I thought, yeah, sure, I'll give it a play. And now it's become like 2-ish years of playing the game just to log in for dailies. Yeah, that's pretty much my life at this point, with this many games. Alright, so the game starts off simple. Pick up coins, get some gear, get more coins, unlock enemies, kill the enemies, and then make your way to different dimensions to slay all sorts of enemies. From here, the game becomes a cycle of resetting to get more power, and eventually you start moving faster, killing more enemies, and oh wow, there's actually lore to this game. While the lore isn't anything special, there are some unique cutscenes and minigames later in the game, but it genuinely takes so long to get there that I would assume most players would never get that far. For this reason, I'm going to give the game a D tier, because while there is a sufficient bit of stuff to do, ultimately most of it will be unreachable for a casual player. Idle Spiral. Math. Who likes math? Probably nobody watching this video. Well, actually, probably a few people out there, because if you like idle games, you're fine sitting down and grinding out a 1% boost to some obscure value in a game for a marginal increase in how fast you're able to beat the game. Well, as for me, I sort of like math. Upper level math doesn't always make the most sense to me. But hey, neither do relationships. Anyways, I've gotten through a few calculus classes in my college career.
Wow, a furry computer engineer, how original.
But point being, if you're going to play this game, it's in your best interest to genuinely know how some upper level math works. And I'm not talking like geometry, because while there is plenty of that in this game, you need to know what an integral is and all sorts of fancy stuff. Yeah, this game is crazy. The really impressive part to me is how much mathematical nonsense exists in this game. Because while I'm sure other idle games have some fancy equations for like enemy scaling or other parts of the game, nothing compares to even what's on the surface of this game. Not only to involve most areas within math, but to put them all in one game in an irrelevant way is absurd to me. B tier if you like math, and probably a D tier game if you can't count past 7. IdleOn, the Idle RPG. Okay, I have never seen a unique twist on the idle game format such as this game. Imagine for a second that there's an evil, universe-destroying, big bad evil guy out there. Well, actually don't imagine, because he's introduced to you at the very beginning of the game. But before you can wield powers legendary enough to defeat him, as always, you have to start simple, with mushrooms, frogs, and beans? Alright, well, you can't ask for much from an idle game. Although the pixel graphics are really cool, and the game does feature a neat AFK mechanic, several minigames, and all the like. That said, I will say, while I don't have footage of this, my one fair warning is that I didn't play this game for about a year, and then logged into it. The sheer number of items that tried to populate my inventory crashed the game, and I simply got none of it. What a warm welcome back to the game. Truthfully, it's really well designed, and something I found plenty of interest in. The one caveat is how much you truly have to not play the game to advance. Sure, while this is a video on idle games, we took the game part out of the equation, as namely to advance, sometimes you have to wait days or weeks to level enough to make progress. It's a really cool game and concept, but I didn't stick with it long as I felt the execution wasn't perfect. S tier game the first week you play, and maybe C tier after that. Incremental Cubes. Alright, so remember those cool graphics from some of the games? Well, let's remove that. Let's even go into our settings and remove the graphics from this game altogether. Why would we want to do that? Well, if you get to the point that I'm at, you'll see exactly why. Now, you have a bunch of squares, cubes, and numbers on your screen. Well, what did you expect with a name like Incremental Cubes? Well, you can easily progress through this game at whatever pace you would like. I can see the complete lack of graphic design or lore being a complete turnoff for most people. D tier. NGU Idle. Wow, another game I cheesed completely through the means of importing an already completed save file. This game is very similar to most other games played so far, so you're not going to get anything absurd with this game. C tier. Pincremental. Was anyone else ever addicted to pinball as a kid? I remember being at a summer camp playing pinball at the end of every day. It was the one game without tickets that I could play for hours, if I didn't have a massive skill issue. Maybe 20 minutes for a really long one, but other than that, probably not too much longer. Time really flies when you're a kid. Anyways, if you love pinball, well, this game will probably somehow fail those expectations. We have the most basic pinball layout known to man, and one of the slowest progression systems I have ever seen in any game. While yes, the gameplay is very active and incentivizes the player to keep playing, it's just not that fun. Am I still playing it for achievements currently? Yep. The achievements not even count on Steam? Yep. What is wrong with me? Actually, please don't answer that. Again. F. Progress game. Honestly, for a game that's in version 0.10, it's not the worst thing in the world. There's sprites, and they move around. So it's got that. It's not overly complicated mathematically, so it's good for casual players as well. Now by comparison, it's not something that stands out. It's the kid at the science fair that made a trifold on photosynthesis. Jimmy, you tried, so have this participation award. C tier. Super Life Franchise Lord. Kids with ADHD, listen up. Or just allocate like 10% of your listening to this as you fidget and read a book while counting the lights on the ceiling. Okay, this game has so much you can do simultaneously, and it's as fast-paced or slow-paced as you would like. It's perfect for me because while I'm definitely not neurodivergent, I am in fact very fast-paced when it comes to idle games. So much so that it's probably problematic, to the point where I don't derive fun from most of this. Anyways, it's a cool game, and I think the developer isn't working on it anymore due to no updates in over a year. But hey, TF2 did the same thing, so why can't other game devs do the same? If you like references, this game is about as full of them as the video is. The scenarios that you put yourself in are hysterical, especially late game where all sense of reality fades, and now you can see why I called this a gateway drug at the very beginning of this video. Anyways, so many buttons to click, levels to gain, this is in fact an idle game. D tier. Tap Ninja. Much like Grimclicker and Idle Slayer, these games are all side-scrollers that increase in enemies as you progressively gain more loot, upgrades, and log into the game to form an ever-growing multiplier. There's not much special here, but if you have made it this far, congratulations, I guess. I'm really running out of things to say here. Also, I really didn't even rank it. That's foul. I did it. D tier. Tap Infinity. This is fundamentally the difference between left Twix and right Twix. One has a bit less caramel and is a bit smoother, but if you have made it this far, congratulations, I guess. I'm really running out of things to say here. However, so you get what you paid for, or didn't pay for in this case. Ultimately, this is just an excuse to waste your time, but hey, you're totally 100% fine with this, unless you fell asleep with video autoplay on. B-tier gameplay, and hey, at least they didn't make a sequel that costs money, and had it launched so bad they removed it from the Steam store.
Product not yet rated.
Now, for the most legendary video game known to man. A finale we've all been waiting for. Renowned for its unparalleled graphics, I have truly never seen a game with such brilliance as this one. Despite its seemingly simple premise of clicking a button, this game redefines visual fidelity with its hyper-realistic interface, intricately detailed animations, and breathtaking special effects. Utilizing cutting-edge technology, this game renders even the simplest clicks with unprecedented accuracy, capturing the subtlest nuances of every possible DPI setting. The game's interface feels alive, with dynamic color shifts and interactive elements that enhance the immersion. Every frame is a visual masterpiece, crafted with meticulous attention to detail, making players feel as though they are engaging with a living, breathing digital canvas. It isn't simply a visual marvel. Its game performance surpasses all others, delivering a seamless and responsive experience. Powered by a next-generation engine optimized for both high-end and low-end PCs alike, the game maintains a flawless 60 frames per second, even during rapid clicking sessions. Its innovative AI systems ensure that each click is met with lifelike feedback and adaptive responses in real time, combined with an expansively, richly woven narrative that unfolds through simple interactions. This game sets a new benchmark in gaming excellence. Critics and players alike hail it as the best game to ever exist, a masterpiece that showcases the pinnacle of what interactive entertainment can achieve, simply through sophistication and simplicity. If that description doesn't sell it, this very exclusive footage is sure to enthrall idle gamers of any caliber. Here is Click 210. Thank you so much for putting up with my rambling and narration. If you clicked on this video expecting something serious, I can assure you that we put about a week into it, so it's serious enough. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, check out the community, and give me your money on Patreon or something. I don't know. All the links are in the description, and wow, look at this, cool fan art. Wow, so cool. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next week. Have a good one, y'all. Another C tier. Seems like I overused that, but if that's just a... Seems like I overused that, but if that's just a... If that's just a... If that's just a...